Good morning. Excuse me. This morning's talk will be on the Headless Horseman. Now, who is the Headless Horseman? Well, according to folklore in the United States, he was a Hessian mercenary who had his head blown off in the American Revolution and forever haunted Sleepy Hollow. This is not the only place we find the Headless Horseman, though. We find the Headless Horseman in Germany, in Ireland. They have different names, but they seem to haunt a certain place because they have died in a violent manner unexpectedly. Now in India, they also have a Headless Horseman, but they call him a Jinjin. He died in a violent manner, unexpectedly, but as a hero king who was protecting innocent people. So throughout history and throughout the world, we have this idea of a headless horseman. What does a headless horseman symbolize? And who is the Headless Horseman? When I stopped and thought about it, I thought all of us are Headless Horsemen at times. Often we start out as Headless Horsemen. What are we doing? We're not connected to our mind, to our real self. So we wander through the world looking for direction and looking for our head, which is just what the Headless Horseman did. Often, I'll read one quote from the Bhagavad Gita, which says it perfectly. All living creatures are led astray as soon as they're born by the delusion that this relative world is real. This delusion arises from their own desire and hatred. But where did this desire and hatred come from? Well, in Vedanta, we believe in rebirth. We believe that you arrive in this birth with what we call samskaras, leftovers from your previous birth, tendencies, emotions, things that direct your life, things that you have to work on in this life. Because we also believe that this rebirth is our golden opportunity to conquer and right our mistakes, to learn, to find our Atman, to find ourselves. Or if we want to put it in the symbolism of the Headless Horseman, get our heads put back up on here where they belong, not carrying it under your arm or on the front of your saddle as you ride through life. Using our heads. We all, when you see babies that are just born, you often see that they already have definite personalities. Some are quiet, some are wiggly, some are noisy, some are, they sleep right on through. You don't know what you're getting. Everyone's a surprise. And you deal with what the surprise is. They come into this life with certain lessons to learn. They've chosen the family that they're going to be in because that is the family that will provide the opportunity for them to learn. Now, the learning can be conscious or it can be unconscious. We may bat our heads against the wall like 1,000 times and make the same mistake, but we don't have to. What does lead us into this headlessness, this lack of direction, this going out in every single direction? It's basically our senses. Because the moment you're born, the senses take you outward. They don't focus you inward. Just think about it. Every moment we're awake, we're looking, we're seeing, we're feeling things, we're experiencing things. And all of them are in the external world. And in that external world of the senses, we're looking for our happiness. We're looking for peace. But the thing that we don't seem to realize is that none of these things last. Absolutely nothing in the external world is forever, except the fact that it goes on forever. But we aren't part of it forever. Our bodies don't last, our minds don't last, our, houses don't last, especially sometimes. Money comes and goes, cars come and go, and we always think we need the next one. We're always looking forward to the next one or grieving for the past one, the one that got away, the one that we lost. So, I tend to read the Gita a great deal, and you will recognize this immediately because it's often a song sung by the choir here. This describes exactly what happens to us. Thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Now think about that. If you think of, think about television and how many things they stick in front of you and say, you really need this new car. This new car has got the backup things, it's got this, it's got side sensors. I mean, you're not safe until you get this new one. And you see the repeated message over and over again, and pretty soon you're going, maybe I do. So the Gita says, thinking about sense objects will attach you to sense objects. Grow attached, and you become addicted. Thwart your addiction, it turns to anger. Be angry, and you confuse your mind. Confuse your mind, and you forget the lesson of experience. Forget experience, and you lose discrimination. Lose discrimination, and you miss life's only purpose. So if we all just take a few moments to think about that. When you do get angry, what causes your anger? Usually, I know in my case, it's frustration for things not going the way I think they should. I have a certain expectation. If that expectation is not met the way I think it should be, then I get frustrated because I just know that's the right way or that's the right thing. And the frustration then turns into anger. Now, this anger basically doesn't have a lot of direction at that point. It has taken over your mind, and you're just plain angry. It doesn't have a focus. It doesn't have it has no focus. You're just angry. It can just happen. And you can't think straight when you're angry or frustrated. Has anyone ever tried to? You can think up wonderful ways to, get even, machinations on how to fix this situation. Most of them are really bad ideas, but we can think of them. The reason they're bad ideas is because we forgot what happened the last time we got angry. Which is what they're saying, you forget the lesson of experience. Sometimes we have to experience the same thing over and over and over again before we learn it. And we keep batting our heads against the same wall. And I know we have all done it. It's the human condition. So much so that there was a saying, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's crazy. Now, we all know that because it's us being in a total rut. We're not living in the present. We're not looking at the circumstances. We are simply going on past habit. And how can we, when we're that confused, apply discrimination? And why do we want to apply discrimination? Well, because in most cases, if you can look at a situation and say, okay, we live in a high fire danger area. If we do not look at everything around us and do all the necessary precautions and expect the fire to go around us, that's plain delusional. Everyone has to do their due diligence. We do our clearing, we do our, clean things up, keep things clean, keep it as safe for the firemen as we possibly can, and then we give it to God. But we all have to do our half of the equation first. And that's where our discrimination comes in, because you have to look at what can I do and what is beyond my capabilities. Discriminating means you learn from your past experience. If you had one thing that went wrong, then you don't do that again. You think of a new way to go around it or to solve that problem. I mean, we can all think of something that we've done. I just learned how to cut tomato vines. I was growing lots of leaves, but now I'm growing tomatoes. What do we call these things that make us lose discrimination? It's our emotions. And what are our emotions directly related to? The Gunas. Now, we're all familiar with the Gunas because I know I recognize almost everyone in here. And the Gunas go through our being and our minds without our control. Sometimes it's tamas, where we're feeling lethargic, we don't want to do anything, we're a little lazy, we don't want to get up and do things. Other times, it's rajas, which is the guna that wants you get up and you work, and get things done, and you accomplish things. The third guna is sattva, which is what we would all like to be in, which we can fool ourselves when we're feeling a little lazy, that I'm feeling very sattvic and calm. Mostly we're feeling lazy. Now, if we can't recognize those gunas when we experience them, and recognizing the gunas is a part of discrimination. How many of you have awakened and you already have a certain mood going for the day? You're either really happy or you wake up and you're just slightly irritated. Nothing's happened. All you did was open your eyes and wake up. But some mornings you're slightly irritated with the whole thing before it even starts. Well, recognize those things. Those are tamasic gunas. We all have them. Now, how do we overcome the tamasic gunas? We use the rajas. We go to work. Because tamasic gunas are basically extremely self-centered. They're, oh, poor me, oh, I can't do this, oh dear, you know. I'm not feeling that well today. I better rest. Sometimes that's true, but in most cases it's just simply us kind of taking a day off, not dealing. The way to overcome that is we used to have a nun who cleaned the closets. Wonderful. She'd wake up and she'd kind of feel, and she'd get busy and clean all the closets. We loved it. And how do you then get over, calm down rajas so that you can sit still? Because in the West, in the Western culture, we tend to live in a state of rajas. If you notice, our first question to people is, what do you do? After you greet them, and, well, what do you do? Like our being is in doing. Our being is not in doing. Our being is in the Atman, recognizing our divinity. Now, there's many ways to do this, and action is one of them. But given the way our society has been going, it's always in activity. We have the longest work days, the shortest vacations of any country in the world. We also have the most stress. We have, other countries get 2 or 3 months, a month off. They have leisure time. In some of the Scandinavian countries, it's very common for people to work from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, so they have time to go be with their children, be with their family. We have a tendency, or have gotten into the habit, of not allowing ourselves to just be. Even when we stop work, we have to keep busy. We have to volunteer, we have to exercise, we have to take care of such and such. We have to fill our children's time with all of these things too. It's our national way of behavior. But how do we get past that? We learn how to concentrate. Well, how do we become what I call headed horsemen, where we're in charge of the horse and not the horse in charge of us? The first thing is focus and mind control. Now, how do you do that? For one thing, we recognize, I'm going to quote the Katha Upanishad this time. This is the main way. The song this morning was Know the Self. That's the self with a capital S. Know that self, unborn, undying, never beginning, never ceasing, birthless, deathless, immortal forever. Now, how do we get to know that self? Because that's who we truly are. The Katha Upanishad says, they give the example of a rider and a chariot. Know the self is the rider, and the body the chariot. Intellect is the charioteer, and the mind the reins. The senses, say the wise, are the horses. The roads they travel are the mazes of desire. The wise call the self the enjoyer when he is united with the body, the senses, and the mind. When you're completely one. You're not. When a man lacks discrimination, his mind is uncontrolled. his senses unmanageable, like the restive horses of a charioteer. But when a man has discrimination and his mind is controlled, his senses, like the well-broken horses of a charioteer, lightly obey the rein. Now, how many of us have made New Year's resolutions? This year I am going to exercise 3 days a week, like the doctor says I should. And we start out very, very good at it. For about 2 weeks. We do our 3 days a week. And then kind of like, well, today I have to do this, and so I'll do it a little later. This is what we call our senses not obeying the mind lightly. Once we have trained the senses to do what we want them to do, then we don't have any problem. If you notice, you do set up routines, and you don't have a problem doing it. You have all the time in the world to do it. But until that routine is set up, you're kind of at odds with yourself, your senses, and what you want to do, what you know you should do. So we try to focus. And what does it take to focus? First of all, we have to have something we're focusing on and where we're going. To sit down and focus, like what am I talking about? We have to have a goal in mind. In order to be successful in anything, you have to have a goal. You can't just say, I'm going to work as hard as I can, and where am I going with this hard work? Do I have a goal in mind? You must have a goal. Now, of course, you're here in the Vedanta Temple because you probably already do have a goal. Most of us have the goal of knowing that immortal being that we are, recognizing it, knowing that's who we are and where we live. And all of this that we see is what we do every day, but we never forget that one goal. And that's where discrimination comes in. Everything that we do every day, we make choices. We choose to do this. Okay, we choose to come to the temple rather than go to the beach. That's the first choice you made right there. You choose to sit inside the temple rather than sit on the porch and look at the view. These are all little choices you're making constantly. Discrimination comes in, recognize those choices. Do them consciously, not just like, oh, I always sit inside, or oh, I always sit outside. It's very simple once we start watching our mind. And you can look at all of the things that your mind's doing, as someone once said, watch all the thoughts that go through your mind as if it were a bus going by. You don't have to get on the bus. You have that choice. You'll have all of these random thoughts that are going, and you're going, I don't have to attach myself to that. I can redirect my mind to what I want to do, what I want to think, the focus that I have. You sit down to meditate, okay? Meditation is one of the prime ways of learning how to concentrate. Concentration, we just basically want to calm what we call the vrittis. And the vrittis are all of those passing thoughts that are jumbling in our head constantly. How many of you have sat down and closed your eyes and I am going to meditate? Okay? Now, I personally have been doing this for a long time, and I can sit down some nights and close my eyes, and suddenly it's, oh my God, I have to call so-and-so to get the parking lot covered. Oh dear. You list off every job you have to do. You worry about what you have to cook for dinner, who's coming to the house. This is what our minds do. But in order to not attach ourselves to that, we just watch it and go, really? Are you really going there again? Eventually, the mind gets tired of being watched. And you sit down. There are different kinds of meditation. I was reading one book, and they said 3 types, basically, which I think everyone recognizes. One of them is a visualization and concentration, which when you sit down, try to visualize a very, the flame of a candle that doesn't move, a clear lake where there's absolutely no ripples on the surface, a place that has, often in nature, that has made you feel completely calm. Now, trying to visualize those things will calm these random thoughts down. Every time the random thought comes, you gently take your mind back to the calm lake, the place in the woods where it's very peaceful, the candle flame, whichever one you choose to visualize. Another kind of meditation is a guided meditation, often with music or someone who, in a very calm voice, leads you on a calming path. And the third type of meditation is mantra meditation, which is what we tend to do here. You have a mantra, sacred sound symbols, name of God, that in our tradition is given by a guru, a teacher who has spent many years teaching people how to meditate and can lead them when they have questions. So, and the mantra is extremely useful because whenever your mind starts to wander, you consciously say your mantra over and over and over again. It can be, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy upon me. That's often used in Christian meditation. It can be Om Mani Padme Hum for Buddhists, but our tradition says that you have a guru, and the guru gives you the mantra that is of your chosen form of God, or not form. Excuse me. So those are the ways we tend to concentrate our minds. And when the mind becomes concentrated, you have actually control over your life. Many of us feel like we're totally out of control. Things are just happening to us. Well, even when we feel things are just happening to us, we have the capability of deciding our reaction to that and how we want to feel about it. We are not helpless little beings who are blown about like leaves in the wind. We are the infinite So we have infinite strength, infinite love, infinite capabilities. And that's what we tap into. We recognize that, find that place in ourself. And then you can do anything. So, once again, I'm going to quote the Gita. The uncontrolled mind does not guess that the Atman is present. How can it meditate? And without meditation, where is peace? And without peace, where is happiness? We all seek happiness and love in our lives. No one wants to be miserable. Oh, golly, I'd really like to go out and push the rock of Sisyphus up the hill over and over and over again. No. Would we choose that? I don't know anyone in the world who would choose that. We want to be happy, and we want to be peaceful, and we want to be with people we love and love us. That's what people want, because that's what they are. We are seeking what we are already. We are bliss. We are love. And we are infinite knowledge. And that's each and every one of us. That is who we are. And that's all we're trying to recognize. So, are there any questions? I will open it to questions now. Oh, yeah. I will give you one way you can come and start concentrating. We have many ways of doing it. And as you know, this is the week of Durga Puja. Okay, so we have one way which will be, you can all take part in. The most auspicious moment of Durga Puja, and do you all know what Durga Puja is about? Okay, I saw one nod no. I'll take that as, okay, talk about it. Mother Durga is invited down by her family to come and do battle with the demons who are taking over the world. Now, the very most auspicious moment of Durga Puja is like 48 minutes while she's fighting the most demonic of the demons, Mahishasura. And so we all get together in the temple for that 48 minutes and sit here and chant Jai Sri Durga together. And you are all invited to please come up if you would like to this Durga Puja. It is Wednesday, the 17th at 12:26 p.m. to 1:14 p.m. And I mean, it's to the minute. They give us these minutes from India. And what we're doing is sitting there as a cheering section saying, "Victory to Mother Durga," and egging her on to kill Mahishasura, the demons that take over the world. In other words, the evil that exists. So we would love to have you come and do that. This, just being able to sit there and do it with everyone else, gives you a hint of the concentration, concentrating the mind on one thing using a mantra. Different things happen. It takes on its own dynamic and often changes tempo. But we do it continually. It's very interesting. So we would love to have you come. That's Wednesday the 17th, 12:26, not 12:27. We will be going already to 1:14. p.m. Okay? But yes, this is one way to concentrate, and that'll give you, as I say, a hint of what mantra meditation is similar. Of course, when you do your mantra, you don't do it out loud. You do it silently to yourself, if you're your own mantra. But this one is a mantra that we do aloud. The other thing is coming together with people who are meditating at the same time often helps create a vibration or a mood. And we have Vesper service every evening, which is 45 minutes of silent meditation. It's not a guided meditation. We have a chanting and singing and a ritual in the shrine at 6 o'clock, and then by 6:15 we sit quietly and meditate. And everyone's welcome to do that too, anytime. Temple's open every day, and that goes on 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. We don't miss a day. So it's always available. Okay. So how many would like to become headed horsemen? Know what you're doing in this world and actually have some say in it. That's what we're all hoping to do, all of us. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through, O Lord, with thy benevolent grace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.